This is the Ourvoice 360 podcast, our perspectives, our way, keeping you in the know while you're on the go. This podcast was created with you in mind. On Ourvoice 360, we'll give you inspiration, sports, business and leadership tips, Black history, and entertainment. This is a show built from our perspectives. So if you're ready to be entertained, inspired, laugh a little, be informed, and enlightened, tune in now to Ourvoice 360. Let's go! Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ourvoice 360, our perspectives, our ways. I'm one half of the hosting crew here. My name is Chad Bumgarner, and with me is my man, Pete Hunt.
What's good, family?
Hey, Pete, with that, let's go ahead and get started, man.
And as always, our podcast is brought to you by Elect Graphics and Photography. Allow your visions to become reality. And CDB Consulting. Great leadership equals great results. How are you leading?
And if you have anything that you want to hear on the podcast, hear us discuss or debate or talk about, or if you just want to tell us how you feel about the podcast, you like it, or some things we can work on, any of that, please do not hesitate. Feel free to email us at ourvoice360@gmail.com. That's ourvoice360@gmail.com. All right, folks, we're going to stay on one topic today because it's a really, really meaty topic to me. Right. And it should be to all people of Black and brown. What is it, diaspora or descent, I should say, Pete? Yeah. Or just Black and brown people in general. Mm-hmm. Today we're talking about symbolism and how important and how powerful symbolism is. I was talking to Pete off air, and I was giving him an example of a counterpart of mine who was white, and we were talking about symbolism. And I gave him this example. I told Pete, now I'll go ahead and put it on the podcast here. But I told the guy, I said, well, look at it like this. I said, imagine you wake up one morning and you turn on the TV and all your newscasters and anchormen and women and weather people were all African American. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you had one or two white people in the mix, but mostly was African American, right? So I said, imagine you turn on ESPN or you want to watch the soap operas, okay? Any of them. Mm-hmm. ESPN, all your sports anchors, all your commentary, your pundits, all of them African American with a sprinkle of white folks here and there. Same thing with your soap operas, you know. The whole cast is all Black. Maybe you got one or two white folks, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's say you're hungry. You need to go grocery shopping. You go to the grocery store. All the packaging, all the advertising is Black people or Black families with, again, the occasional one white person in there sprinkled in or whatever have you. Okay? Let's say you're walking down the street. It's all Black people. And then you have your sprinkles of white folks. I said, after a while, after dealing with this, mm-hmm. what would you feel about it? Imagine being in the classroom and you're one of only 3 white folks in an all-Black class from kindergarten to 12th grade. Right. You know, imagine, not even a lot of times consciously, but subconsciously, what that does to you, what that says to you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted him to understand and think about that because, you know, I can't speak for all Black people because we're not a monolithic people. Right. But I know a lot of Black folks that have been in that situation, including myself. It makes you feel some kind of way, and it's not really good. It kind of puts a chink in your armor of confidence. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them couldn't relate to you or how you live or your mm-hmm. environment. You mm-hmm. know what I'm saying? I remember a lot of times we would be in school talking about movies or music, and it's like, Chad, you never seen blah, 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 blah. I'm like, nah, you are missing life and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, have you seen Friday? Huh? What is that? Mm-hmm. You haven't seen Friday? That is a classic. Really? Hadn't heard anything about it. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I was just trying to get my buddy to think. Mm-hmm. I said, because you have grown up in a world where you are the majority.
Right.
But worldly speaking, you are the majority minority. There's more people of color in the world than there is, just white folks.
Right.
But here in the States, you are majority, and it's prevalent in every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
Government, law, entertainment, sports, medicine, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling him that to try to get him to understand that symbolism is everything. For the longest, we would watch movies, and it was always, especially in the 60s and 70s, it's gotten somewhat better, but it was always a black man or woman playing a degraded part, whether he was a thug or a pimp or, just the all around bad guy or the junkie. And
Mm-hmm.
the black woman was playing the prostitute or the maid or, something. We were always something subservient. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah.
it just, after a while, it messes with you, and subconsciously you start to kind of think that way. And like I said, now I can't speak for all uh, black people, but for a lot of us, that was how we felt until we got older, and we're a little bit more enlightened about our past and who we are and where we
Mm-hmm.
come from, things of that nature. But you don't get that in school every day. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that in life. So go ahead, Pete.
No,
I
no,
just
no.
want to
You're
set
good.
the backdrop, but
But yeah,
symbolism is powerful, man.
as Black people, we have been, put in a position of lesser than as far as the world. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Especially in these United States. Excuse me. Um, like you said, Chad, symbolism is so important to a people.
Hmm.
And again, growing up, we 70s babies, 70s and 80s babies.
That's
So
right.
I mean, growing up, we the symbols that we saw, like you said, in entertainment, either we were, you know, the drug dealer or the, like you said, the pimp or the mammy or the
Hmm.
prostitute, and even in shows when they tried to give us a positive spin as far as television. You look at Good Times, or you look at Sanford and Son, or you look at a show called like maybe The Jeffersons or something like that. It's always that we're downtrodden, even though the family itself is good. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You're trying to give this overall good, positive message.
Right.
The family's always poor, maybe except for in the Jeffersons situation. But you look at Good Times, you look at the Sanford and Son, and things of that sort. Okay, the story itself is good and it's funny, ha 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 ha, whatever, whatever. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we're looking at poor people. We're never looking at a situation where Black folk are rich, not until we get to say a Cosby Show,
I was about to say, yeah, the Cosby. That's right. Yeah.
until we get to a different world, or
Living single,
a fresh, your living single, Fresh Prince of
Fresh
Bel
Prince of
Air.
Bel. Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
where we get into, we didn't get those until like the 90s, until we get
Exactly.
a positive role model from a Black family that's successful.
Hmm.
I mean, even if, like you said, you even look at things in stores, packaging, and things of that sort. For the longest, until George Floyd, Aunt Jemima was a mammy. Let's be
Right.
real.
Hmm.
Was a mammy on the pancake box until George Floyd. And then they got all pretty and all this stuff. Well, right before George Floyd, they made Aunt Jemima pretty and had a little hair done and this, that, and the third. But before then, she was a mammy,
With the head wrap. Yep.
with the head wrap, and you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying, the bottle, the way the bottle was, and this, that, and the third. So representation is important as far as with the Black people, and because and like you said, Chad, we it has been shown to us for so long, and as our people being a negative.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
now we're coming around to, we went through a stage where, like I said, through the 90s, 2000s, that, the symbolism of black folk uplifted, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in a situation where we see entertainment. Now they have taken away the symbolism of the positive black man, woman, and child. And now we're going into mixed couples. Now every commercial that you see, you have a black woman with a white man, or a white woman with a black man, and which is cool.
And the kids look. I see a lot of commercials too with the kids looking very ambiguous. It's like,
Yeah,
you can't really tell what the kid, if you don't see the parents, you can't tell what,
yeah,
are they Latino, are they mulatto, or it's hard to
yeah,
tell what they are.
yeah. So I mean, it's gone from one spectrum to the other. But again, and I can speak from a personal standpoint, from with my granddaughter. My granddaughter wants a doll, Grand P. That's what she calls me Grand P. Grand P, can you buy me a baby doll? Sure, I can buy you a baby doll.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what color that baby doll is going to be.
Right.
And she didn't understand that at first. When she was younger, she's 8 now. But when she was younger, 4, 5, 6, when she was getting the understanding of life and situations and circumstances, she would always ask me. She would go straight to the white baby doll. I'm like, no, baby girl, we're gonna go over here and get this black Dr. Barbie.
Dr. McStuffins.
Yeah. Or we gonna get Doc McStuffins, or we gonna
Right.
get, or whatever the black doll is of today. And she didn't understand it. She asked me one day. She was like, Grand P, why do you always get me a black baby doll? I said, sweetheart, because that black baby doll represents you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you are a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you need to be represented, and your representation should be of having a black baby doll. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree. I had
And
the
it's
same talk with
and
my daughters.
yeah, and it's not anything against, white baby dolls or white people
No,
or
it's
this, that, and the
about
third.
representation.
It's about representation of people that look like you in a positive light. I mean, we can go all the way to the books that she has in her room. All the books, the majority of her books are black books from black authors. Because guess what? She's a black woman. She's
Mm-hmm.
gonna grow into a black woman. So she needs that perspective.
You know what, Pete? That the story that you're talking about reminds me of a young man I used to mentor, and he was big into, he loved the ocean.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I was telling him, I was like, yo, if that's what you want to do, there are jobs where you can study various things about the ocean.
Hmm.
And he gave me this weird look, like, Mr. B, I ain't never seen no black people, studying the ocean, or, whose job was studying the ocean. And so we had to do
Right.
some research, and we had to find some oceanographers that were, African American. I'm like, yo,
Right.
you can do this, but it plays back into what you're saying about your granddaughter having the black baby dolls and the black books, because they need to see that
Exactly.
we are in every field that our white counterparts are in. It's
Exactly.
not broadly advertised,
Hmm.
but it's kind of like one of those things where it's hidden in plain sight. It's out there on the internet. You just got to go find it.
Right.
But
Right.
especially being with kids, they're impressionable. What they see is what they
Hmm.
think it is. And so when
Exactly.
you see all astronauts that are white for year after year after year after year, subconsciously you play down the fact that you've always wanted to be an astronaut, but when you don't see yourself for many years, you're thinking,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna be one, because
Right.
I don't see one looking like me. I don't. So
Hmm.
it's not gonna happen for me either. That's how powerful symbolism is, and
Hmm.
that's why it's so important, man, that what you're doing with your granddaughter and what I do with my daughters
Hmm.
is like, look, we have representation now a little bit better, but
Right.
we gotta go find it.
Hmm.
Like I think it was Mae Jemison, the first black female astronaut. There's a lot of black people today that still don't know that she
Exactly.
was with the first female, first black female, right? Because I
Hmm.
think Ron McNair was the first black male astronaut that went up. But I mean, seeing stuff like this is rare.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like if
Hmm.
we don't see it around us, then we're thinking it's not possible. And that's something we as people of the black and brown descent, we have to get better at showing our kids,
Hmm.
even if it means doing some more digging. But again, symbolism is very powerful. I remember my oldest, she's away in college now, but when she was in middle school, she had to do a project. Her thing then was fashion.
Hmm.
And so it really surprised me because her project, what she did was she did a booklet, and I still have it, on fashion designers, black fashion designers from A
Hmm.
to Z,
Wow.
from A to Z. And so we as in this country need to do a better job at this symbolism thing. But like I was telling you off air, there are certain entities and quote unquote powers that be that really spend billions and billions of dollars on this symbolism thing because they understand and know how powerful it
Hmm.
is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And
For
it's
sure.
like we have to find a way to counter that because
Hmm.
the kids that we see now are going to be the kids running the world when we're sitting in our rocking chairs and retired.
Hmm.
And so we've got to equip them and let them know that whatever it is that they want to be and do, that it is possible and that there are forerunners out there for you to reach out to, for you to ask for guidance and mentorship.
Right.
Because if they did it, you can do it too. But you have to know how to go about it. But yeah, man, this symbolism thing has been a thorn in black and brown people's side for generations. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you still have some silly um I don't know what you call them. I'm losing words for it, but notions, for lack of a better word, that white folks believe because they see it on TV.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's funny because the media is very powerful, and I feel like they have an obligation, but of course, I don't think they feel that way.
Hmm.
Um, it goes back several podcasts when we were talking about um, there was one white guy, I forgot what he did, but they put his picture up as a family man when he was a murderer.
Right.
Maybe that was
Right.
recent, I'm not sure. But then
Hmm.
there was a black man that had a murder, and they put his mug shot up.
Hmm.
They didn't put him up with his daughter and his son and his girlfriend. They didn't put him up, him being, a straight A student or, whatever the case is.
Hmm.
The imagery that is shown between the different ethnicities is really, really striking. Even down to the words that are used during the broadcast about the people and written on articles on the internet and in actual, newspaper.
Hmm.
This thug or this animal, he was strong as an ox, and they
Hmm.
love to like use animal comparisons to black people. It's like even in sports, you got a defensive lineman, he puts his hands puts his hand up to knock down the ball when the quarterback, throws the ball. Did you see him put up his big paw? And I'm like, why you just can't have a hand?
Hmm. Yeah, and it's done on purpose.
Yeah,
Please
that's what
believe it.
yeah,
Please
yeah.
believe it. It's done on purpose. That I like the analogy you made as far as the pictures that they show in newspapers and on the internet when black folk do stuff wrong and compared to what when white folk do stuff wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
again the black guy has the mug shot, and just like a few weeks back when the QAnon follower
Yeah, that's yeah.
took his children to Mexico and basically harpooned his children,
Mm.
to a toddler and an infant. He harpooned them. I mean, and said in his mind that QAnon had told him that his babies were going to be devils and take over the world and yada yada yada. But the picture that they showed in the article was this beautiful picture of him and his wife and the two children.
Mm-hmm.
But this dude just murdered his children. And it was a big backlash because black people, of course, stood up and was like, hold on, this dude just murdered his two babies. And this is the picture that you put in media, over the internet, in newspapers. This is the beautiful picture of his family.
But you know why? Because that symbolizes that he's not a murderer, but
Mm-hmm.
he's mental. He needs mental help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, on the flip side, when they show the brother with the mug shot and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he can't be mental. He can't have a mental problem.
Mm-hmm.
He's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He can't be off his medication. He can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and it's sad that our people have gone through this for so long and continuing to go through it. Because I heard a white gentleman, he's on Instagram and TikTok a lot, and he's a guy that's that goes out of his way to talk about black issues, and I can't remember the guy's name. And he gave a speech during, I think it was during the George Floyd fiasco, and he was basically saying that he was raised by racists, and a
I
lot
saw
of
that.
and a lot
Yeah.
of his people, the people that raised him, a lot of their the reason that they were the way they were was because of how the media portrayed black people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when the stuff that they watched, they always saw black people in a
A
unkind
negative
light,
light.
in a
Mm-hmm.
negative light, exactly.
Right.
So when they saw that, he said that that's what they showed me and that's what they taught me. He said, luckily, I'm able to think on my own and do my own research and find out what it really is. But he said, growing up, he said those were the images that were shown to me, he said, by my racist family. And they got it from the media that, black people were thugs and black people, they
Lazy.
were lazy and this, that, and the third. And it's funny that they say black people are lazy, but we are the people that built this country.
I knew it, Pete. We are there because I was about to. I said, Pete missed this one. I'm gonna get it.
Oh, I'm there with it. I'm there with it.
It's funny how the first 400 years of building this country, we weren't lazy until Reconstruction,
Right.
when we were able to work on our own, when we were freed in that 1865, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. And then again, that symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the white man wanted to happen was, let's erase this 400 years of oppression, and then going into the Reconstruction, we're going to make the black man look like he's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make we're going to tell the story, or we're going to set the tone on how these people should be portrayed. And it starts in the media, and it starts in movies, and it starts in, entertainment is a huge impression on people. And if you continue to show people in a negative light, guess what? People are going to start believing that's what these people are, and that's what happened to us as far as
But
early
you know
19.
what?
Yes, sir.
No, I didn't mean to cut. Go ahead.
No,
Since
go
early
ahead.
19, I was gonna add to that because I remember watching a video on Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the famous psychologist who passed away several years ago, who wrote the ISIS papers, the keys to the colors.
Right.
And there was a segment in this video where she was saying that rap, when it was coming out, it was conscious. It was not necessarily political, but it was talking about what was going on in the neighborhood.
Right. Exactly.
The crime. And then it also talked about the government. Right. And so it was still in this infancy stage, but she said, just like with anything, if you write something if you write a poem, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want people to think that she said this word for word. I'm paraphrasing, but if you write a poem and recite it, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But she said what PE, for those who don't know, is public enemy.
Right.
She said, but when PE put pen to pad and then took those lyrics and threw a beat behind it,
Right.
she says, now you can revolutionize a nation and a world
Mm-hmm.
because music catches everybody.
Right.
And the powers that be caught that. And they was like, whoa, we can't have this because
Mm-hmm.
they're going to wake up a lot of people.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So what we
Mm-hmm.
got to do is offer these rappers a large sum of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the trade-off is this is where in the industry they talk about selling your soul. The trade-off is you can't talk about politics and what's going on. Now, the only thing we're going to greenlight for you is when you call each other dogs and thugs and bow wows and you call your women bees and whores and everything else demeaning and degrading.
Exactly.
As long as you make that kind of music, we will greenlight it. You can get all the money your heart desires.
Mm-hmm.
That was the downfall. Because I'm going to step away from symbolism a little bit, but it's still part of it. It's still part of it. There's two sides to this coin. And the first side is, yes, y'all sold out for $1 to get rich. The flip side is, it's almost like in the streets, you can't knock a man or a woman's hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you come from nothing and you have nothing and you living at home with nothing in that refrigerator and your mom working 2 jobs just to keep y'all, in an apartment or whatever, and y'all sharing clothes and you eating or drinking water for lunch and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And this man come to you and says, with this stroke of the pen, I can change your life and your family's life. All you got to do is this. So I see both sides.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard, but I see both sides. You don't want to struggle no more. You're tired of struggling. This is your way out. But at the same time, you're adding to the negative symbolism of your people as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, especially not even in the South, but in the Midwest and out West, Iowa, Wyoming, these people think that what they see on TV about black people, that's how we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
in other countries, they think that's how we are. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to have to beat this brush on everybody that we are not a monolithic group of people.
Right.
We are not. We're just as diverse within our own ethnicity as you are.
Mm-hmm.
We got black Republicans, black Democrats, black independents. We got black people who love rock and roll, golf, classical music, like the hunt, like the fish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's black people that like bungee jumping. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
we are not monolithic, but there's people that are outside of our scope that feel like what they see on TV
Mm-hmm.
is what we are and who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it even goes into the corporate world. It's like I was telling a friend of mine, I said, it's so hard working in a corporate environment where you're like the only black or one of only blacks in that whole department or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair to that person. But it's like you almost have to carry the weight of the entire race on your shoulders every time you go to work, because how they interact with you and you with them and how they see you and all that stuff, they're going to think that's how all black people are, or a lot of black people are.
Mm-hmm.
When in essence, it's just me. I can't account for the whole black race. I can only account for me, what I like to do and don't like to do.
Exactly.
You can't hold that on the whole black race because I like classical music. Oh, they all like, no, they all don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some do. But that's the burden that a lot of us, have to carry when we go into these corporate environments, because it's like, it's almost, I don't want to say sickening, but it's just flat out, to me, just ignorant that you would even think like that.
Well, again, Chad, I mean, and it goes back to what we've been talking about this whole podcast. It's about symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
It's about symbolism, and it's just when you're not represented in the totality of who you are as a people.
Right.
That's where the issue lies. Are there black people that commit crimes? Sure. But we also have black scientists.
Speak.
We also have black doctors. We also have black oceanographers, as you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the history of this entire landscape of this world, if it wasn't for us, and I mean us as in black folk, you don't have mathematics. You don't have science. You don't have astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Government.
yeah, you don't have government. You don't have religion without us.
Mm-hmm.
Because who do you think built those pyramids
Oh, I can
in
tell you, Pete.
Africa?
The aliens came down and built those. The Egyptians, the Africans didn't do that. The aliens came
I
down.
mean, who do you think gave the Romans and the Greeks government?
Well, you better stop.
We did that. We did all of that. That was my people, my ancestry.
But see, that's the thing, Pete. It's like when you talk about that, and that's great symbolism because the kids need to know from whence they came.
I
But
have a
when you,
saying that we as black folk, we need to tell our children and their children and then their children what cloth they were cut from.
mm-hmm.
My father is that's one of his biggest things was, I have to let you know what cloth you cut from. And if it's good cloth or bad cloth, you know what I'm saying? So again, and that's another thing when you don't teach the real truth, and we're going through that right now as far as with some of these red states that want to get rid of true education and true history.
Mm-hmm.
They want to strip the educational system of slavery. They don't want to teach Dr. King now they use Dr. King whenever something pop off when it comes racial, but now you want to strip Dr. King out of your textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, that goes back to symbolism, because God forbid that this black man, woman, and child be put into the forefront for what they really actually truly did for this world.
I was about to say, just think about if everybody would sit down and be like, you know what? We need the whole truth, no matter how ugly and dark
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
We need the whole 360-degree truth so that we can move forward as a nation, as a world. We need that. That truth is foundation. It cannot be shaken. It cannot be broken. It cannot. Truth is foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like you were saying earlier, who do you think gave the Greeks and the Romans government, law, architecture, math, science, astrology, all of that stuff? See, the thing is, it really boggles my mind, even in the college arena where they talk about the Greek philosophers, the father of medicine, the father of history, the father of this. The one question these professors will never answer is, well, who taught these fathers?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an easy answer. I mean, it's a simple question and an even easier answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though they either don't know or won't tell you, all you have to do is go back and read these Greek philosophers' writings. They tell you plainly. They went to Kemet. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They went to Egypt, for those of you who don't know. They studied under the priests and the scribes in Egypt for 30 to 40 years. They spent a lifetime studying under these Africans, Africans with law, astrology, algebra, science, all that stuff. They were there for 30 to 40 years studying under these priests and scribes. And then they go back to their respective homelands and teach what they've been taught. Okay. Now, maybe some of them have took that foundation and added to it. That's cool. That's cool. It's all about growth and evolution. But where'd you get your foundation? because that's key. Because
Yes, sir.
once you grow off a foundation, it's solid. It's like doing a math equation. You know, you know what I'm saying? When you work in that math equation, if you got the wrong answer, somewhere you went off.
Mm-hmm.
But that foundation was solid.
Yeah,
You
you
went off
started on.
somewhere.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
started
yeah.
off strong. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
the symbolism here is that we didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? It was the Greeks and the Romans who gave the world culture and art and science.
No,
They had a better PR. Let me say that.
hold on.
They had a better
Uh,
PR, but
Let's
they
be.
did not get that information out of thin air. And the thing I like about it is, and I've taken time to look up some of these books, Herodotus and Socrates and all these other guys. They tell you plain as day where they went to study, where they got their education. But it's funny because the professors in these schools and colleges won't tell you the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go find out. Like I was saying earlier in the podcast, it's hidden in plain sight. You
Yep.
just got to go find it. If you
You
can
gotta go
take the
find it.
time and read through
Mm-hmm.
their writings and and all the books that they put together, they will tell
Mm-hmm.
you where they got their education. It's not hard to find. It just takes a little time and a lot of reading, and you'll find it. You'll
And
find
and Chad, can you imagine the pride if our people, I mean, really, truly, let's take away the negative away from how we've been portrayed as a people,
it. Mm-hmm.
and really dig down deep into who we truly are. And we're talking about symbolism. Can you imagine the self pride? You would look at things differently.
Oh yeah, it'd be no
What?
different than the Greeks and the Romans
Yeah,
now.
yeah. It's like when the stuff that the knowledge that I've learned about my people and in my culture after I got out of school has affected me in such a way that I can't look at another black man and think negative. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been shown what we truly are, and the symbols who we are to this great society of this world, and how important we are. So I'm gonna greet another black man as king, because guess what? If I greet him as king, he no longer feels to me as a threat. That's symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's true.
the symbolism that the negativity and symbolism that we've been getting throughout history has actually kind of pitted us against one another.
Right.
If I greet a sister as queen, how you doing, queen? Guess what? She's more apt, or if I greet a brother king, he's more apt to accept what the next thing I'm getting ready to say,
That's true.
and not be, what I'm saying, wind in his chest or wind in his jaw. What this brother going to say to me, yada yada yada. It's about symbolism, and the things that I've learned, out of school, which again had to find on my own, has put a symbol for me as for the black man, woman, and child are kings and queens. That's how I see us as a people, because that's who we were and who we are. So I think if we get to, as a people, if we get to the place where we teach our own
Mm-hmm.
and show our own where we come from, where we're cut from, that we didn't start at slavery.
Right.
We 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 started everything. I mean, everything. If you want to look at it biblically, us. And that's another, we could probably do a whole
I'm
podcast
about
on
to say,
that.
Pete, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, we'd have to do a whole podcast on that. But if you're a religious person, that's people that look like me and Chad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Let's be real. Do your research. There wasn't no blonde hair, blue eyes. Again, let's look at the symbolism
Yeah,
as far as
over
yeah.
2 to 3 thousand years ago, in the middle, in what they now call the Middle East,
Mm-hmm,
which is the Jerusalem area too, if I'm not mistaken,
mm-hmm.
and Nazareth. You did not see blonde hair, blue eyes.
But
They were
again,
more. Go ahead.
it's symbolism.
Yeah, right.
That has been the symbolism of the Christian faith for as long as I've been living, 48
hmm
years, and it goes way past that. I mean, way longer than that. I mean,
hmm
our ancestors worshiping this, white, blonde haired, blue eyed gentleman,
hmm
which is not the case. But again, it's about symbolism. It's about what you have been shown and what you've been taught over thousands of years and hundreds of years. That what has been shown. So again, symbolism is so important in our community, and we have to be able to take the bull by the horns and show our people the symbols the true symbols of who we are
hmm
as a people, as a culture, how important we are to this world. There is no world without us. Point blank period. Because if you look at it, even even as I speak right now, we influence everything. Black folk influence every cultural beginning of everything, as far as whether it's music, entertainment, sports.
hmm
It's all derived from us. We set the trends.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
That
honestly,
is true.
we set the trend. So again, that symbol of blackness carries a lot of weight in this world. I mean, they don't want you to see that, but our blackness carries a lot of weight because our culture is so vast and so dominant.
hmm
That's why the powers that be doesn't want to show how dominant we are as a culture, because we influence everything.
That's true. From clothes to food to music. I mean, you name it. I mean,
Hmm.
one quick example is rap. When it came out, they were determined to demolish it.
Hmm.
Rap came out, and this is just my interpretation. Let me say that rap came out. It was doing okay for a minute. It got blindsided by a lot of people, especially when Uncle Luke and them came out with their explicit lyrics or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And to me, it went dormant for a while, and then all of a sudden, it came back out. Disney started doing it. Kool-Aid commercials started doing it. You saw every mainstream
Hmm.
entity um,
Hmm.
taking rap and repack. To me, I call it, they did a Puff Daddy. They did a remix to it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They took it, they repackaged it, and put it back out and made it family friendly. Oh, rap is cool now.
Hmm.
All the Disney characters was doing it when they did their little musical movies. They break out into a little rap. Some little Caucasian boy busts out in a little rap or something. They do their little dance moves or whatnot. I remember several Kool-Aid commercials. There was a little rap thing in there. Mr. Kool-Aid himself was doing a rap or something like that. These is the early '80s or something like that. And then from there, it just trickled on to every other entity of entertainment or TV. And,
Hmm.
and 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 rap was that's what it was. But it came from the streets. It started in New York. It came from the streets. People were talking about what was going
Hmm.
on in their neighborhood.
Yep.
They were talking about the government. But
Hmm. I'm,
just like with anything else, it's taken and it's repackaged and then it's put back out. But again, symbolism,
yep. Yes, sir.
symbolism. So it's very important that and I'm glad we talked about this topic today, because it's very important, because people, of all hues need to realize that there are a lot of people behind the puppet masters that are pulling these strings, especially in entertainment, TV, and other forms of, you know, I guess, news,
Hmm.
where symbolism is very, very meticulously thought about and put into place. And we need to be aware,
Hmm.
you
Yes,
know what I'm
sir.
saying, of that, and to be able to counter that. We may not have the same power as the powers that be that do this, but we do have influence with the platforms that we have and
Hmm.
other people with their platforms. So it's very important that we understand what's going on, but also that we re-educate and let people know that that's not the entire story.
Exactly.
You know what I
That's
mean?
why that's why, like earlier I said, that's why it's so important that we 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 have to teach one another. As
Mm-hmm.
far as black people, we have to teach our um, children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins, mamas, daddies. I mean, we have to teach the correct symbolism and who we actually are.
And the thing is, my thing is this for people who are listening who are not of black and brown descent. This is not a racist commentary. This is not a racist podcast. What we are, all we're doing is saying, if you're gonna talk truth, talk the whole truth, speak the whole truth. That's all we're saying. This ain't got nothing to do about being racist. This has everything to do about telling the truth.
Hmm.
You need to be truthful about origins of everything, good, bad, or ugly. And specifically when it comes to black and brown people, our origin did not start in slavery. The world was birthed out of us. Everything that you see now and enjoy, the origins came from us. I mean, I just need for us to be mature about this situation, because you got a lot of people, excuse me, like you were saying earlier, that surgically want to remove certain things from history. Well, then that's not truth. That is a slanted version or vision that you want to tell. You want to tell a vision, which is what TV does. They tell a vision of a version of truth.
Hmm.
So my thing is, it's not really the whole truth. Let's be truthful about our origin, about our history. When I say our, at this point, I'm talking about American history. Let's be truthful. The reason you became a superpower so fast, because you're only a little over 200 years old. This country's way older than us. But we became a superpower so fast because you used chattel slavery for 400 years. You got free labor for 400 years. And that warp speed,
Hmm.
you know, that caused you to warp speed into the top gun, the top position. But now when we talk about history, let's be honest here. Again, it was because of African Americans who provided that work, who put in that work
Hmm.
for free, not willingly, but they did it to build the infrastructure and the lifeline of America as what we see today. So my thing is, if you're going to tell the truth, tell the whole truth. Give props to the people who made it happen. We made it happen. We didn't want to be here. Let's tell that truth too, because we were kidnapped and brought over here.
Hmm.
We didn't want to be in slavery because there. I hate to hear a lot of black people say, "I'm not my ancestors." To me, that's a slap in the face. Because if you did your due diligence, you would know that a lot of slave revolts took place. Again, it's not in your history books. The only one that was in your history books is the Nat Turner Revolt and maybe the Haiti, those two. But there were many, many other revolts where
And
Africans
they're
were
not
just
talked
sped
about,
up and they're not taught. Right,
and they're
exactly.
not talked. Even Nat Turner and Haiti, they're not talked about as they should be. But of
They're
course,
not. But
of
but I'm
course.
saying is our people have fought for years to be free.
Hmm.
We ain't just start fighting in the 60s. We fought since we got over here.
Mm-hmm.
But see, when you don't do your due diligence, you don't know any better. And that's how you're speaking, like you don't know any better. You need to do your research. There were plenty of revolts that were going on until we actually became free. Why do you think all these revolts were going? Because when you grow up and when you're born free and then you're enslaved, you don't like that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to go back to being free. I mean, point blank.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that right there symbolizes strength that our people today don't know. We've always had strength. And it's really not about being rebellious, because you'll have the other side saying, oh, they were a rebellious people. I'll tell you what, you let somebody take your freedom and see how you would respond. And that's the thing. It's like, y'all don't want to talk about the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to talk about the whole picture. You want to say that we were lazy, we were rebellious, y'all didn't know any better, you needed somebody over you. No, we did. No, we didn't. Because if that's the case, then why did the Romans and Greeks come to Egypt to study if we needed somebody over us?
Oh boy, we could be on this another 2 hours.
I'm just saying, Pete.
Yeah.
I need for people to understand it's not a racist thing. It's not a race bashing thing. It's about truth. Let's just sit down and tell the doggone truth. If you don't want to use our black scholars' information and research, look at the Greek and Roman scholars. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
Y'all praise them all the time, but you don't want to get into their works. You don't want to really get in and see what they said when they talked about going down to Kemet, the land of the black skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat under the scribes and the priests and learned this, and this. I sat under the scribes and the priests. See, they didn't have a problem being educated by people that looked like us. That didn't matter. What mattered was the knowledge.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I need for folks today to get out of. We can be smart and be black. The color has nothing to do with your smartness. But they make it a color thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they want everybody to hate us because we want to be free. Now, if we willingly went to them and wanted to be subservient, oh, then we're the best thing in the world. Oh, they're so nice. They're so humble.
Mm-hmm.
They do what you need them to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's about control.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're scared to allow our original light to shine again, because that takes, they feel like that takes the light and the praise off of them.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's about, again, what we're talking about. If the true symbol or symbolism of our people are shown, you're much better off, and we can live in harmony. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We're not trying to be superior. We just want to live life.
Just be honest. But again, we've already seen that it's not going to be taught by the masses. We have to, as a people, we have to teach our own, and then that's the way we get our proper symbolism out, is amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if we know the truth and who we are, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's all that really matters. That we know who we are.
And but I still feel like we need our just due, of course, nationally and globally.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about that. But again,
you're right. I agree with you. It has to start with us. It has to start.
Oh yeah, it has to. It has to, for sure. Yeah.
All right, Pete, man, this has been a great conversation. I think it's been a long time coming, but nevertheless, it's here. But I think we covered it fairly well.
All right.
Fairly well. Any other words you want to get into, man? Because I'm about to get into this black inventor that's going to really.
Speaking of symbolism, you going to get that symbol Get that symbol off. That's what you do.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now entering into the segment of the African American inventor. And this one right here, like my man said, it's a doozy. um, this African American woman invented your home security system. The peephole will never be the same. Marie Van Brittan Brown felt uneasy in her neighborhood and the police were unreliable. So she took matters into her own hands and planted the modern home security system. Excuse me, not planted, but patented the modern home security system. Over 50 years later, the technology is installed in millions of homes and offices worldwide. And at the time, Brown was a 43-year-old African-American nurse who worked long, late hours before returning home to Jamaica, Queens in New York City. Her husband, Albert Brown, who co-founded or co-patented the system, the security system with her, he was an electronics technician and he worked away many nights. So crime in the neighborhood at that time, of course, was really bad and police were often slow to respond to emergency calls. So Brown needed a way to feel safer in her apartment. Specifically, she wanted a way to see and hear who was at the door from any room in the house. So in '66, Brown designed a closed circuit security system that monitored visitors via camera and projected their images onto a television monitor. Not only that, a panic button contacted the police immediately. Brown envisioned a series of 3 to 4 peepholes at various heights. A camera would slide over the peepholes to assess the outside area. A radio-controlled wireless system would transfer the image to a monitor or a set of monitors positioned anywhere in the residence, right? So at the monitor, a resident could not only see who was at the door, she could also talk to that person via a set of two-way microphones. A remote control option allowed her to unlock or lock the door from a safe or convenient, distance. So Brown, she filed the patent for her home security system utilizing television surveillance on August 1st, 1966. Her husband's name got second billing. It was the first patent of its kind. The Brown's application was impressive, drawing on existing closed-circuit television technology, mainly was used in the military surveillance. A German engineer by the name of Walter Birch had developed a camera monitoring system in '42 in order to observe the Nazi V-2 rocket testing from a safe distance. Now, Brown's security system brought closed-circuit TV use into the home. 3 years later, after filing, Brown was awarded her patent on December 2nd of 1969. The New York Times reported the story on December 6th, and it listed Albert Brown's name first, followed by his wife Marie, and continued with the patented system. A woman alone in the household could alarm the neighborhood immediately by pressing a button. And installed in a doctor's office, it might prevent holdups by drug addicts. When asked about next steps, Brown said she planned to install the device in their Queens home and explore manufacturing options. So the story goes on and on. And today, it is used in millions of, well, let me back up. According to a 2016 News Scientist report, 100 million concealed closed circuit cameras are now in operation worldwide. Now we're the ones being watched, whether we knocked or not. Maria Van Brittan Brown died on February 2nd of 1999. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A sister, Marie Van Brittan Brown, is the patent and owner and inventor of your home security system. Kudos to that sister.
Symbolism.
We got to know how great we are. We got to tell a story even if
Great,
somebody else won't. You know what I'm saying? I was excited, man. I shared this with my daughters not too long ago before we got on air, man, because I was like, this is amazing. This is, I had no idea. But yeah.
We are great, man.
That's our inventor. So moving right along, we're going to move into the book of the week, and it's called Stolen Legacy. How timely. The Egyptian's Origin of Western Philosophy by George G.M. James. I don't know if y'all can see it. Can y'all see that?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. This book challenged the notion that civilization started in Greece, which is not true. This uncompromising classic attempts to prove that the true authors of Greek philosophy were not Greeks, but Egyptians. The text asserts that the praise and honor blindly given to the Greeks for centuries rightfully belonged to the people of Africa, and argues that the theft of this great African legacy led to the erroneous world opinion that African content had made no contribution to civilization. Quoting such celebrated Greek authors, like I was saying earlier, Herodotus, Hippocrates, Aristotle, Thales, and Pythagoras, who admit to the influence of Egyptian studies in their work. This edition sheds new light on traditional philosophical and historical thought. Originally published in 1954, this book features a new introduction. Like I was telling y'all before. Oh, let me show this again. Stolen Legacy. Now he has in there quotes from these famous Greek philosophers admitting to, as I said earlier, sitting under the scribes and priests of African descent, learning the government and astrology, algebra, science.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's about telling the truth. Let's just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. That's all. That's all we're asking. Tell the truth. You worked so hard for so long to give your view when it's just so much easier to just put out the truth and let it be. No one thinks any different of you. You have your own contributions to the world. We applaud those. But give us our due.
Yep.
Just give us our due.
That's it.
I digress. It's exhausting, man. Just trying to have people be mature and just tell the doggone truth.
That's all.
But any last words, Pete? Because I got the Bible verse, and then I'm gonna end with a little bit of Marcus Garvey.
Hey, man, as always, protect your people, love on your people, man. It's just again, when we're talking about symbolism, each one teach one. Do some research, do some reading, share that with your people, share that with your family, your friends. Again, we got to get the truth out.
That's a great segue.
Yeah. So let's start with us.
That's a great segue into Marcus Garvey. And I think we're gonna start leaving every podcast with this quote, because I think it just needs to be ingrained in our minds. We need to get better at becoming more intelligent.
Drop it, brother.
Here's a quote that we have from Marcus Garvey that we're gonna start leaving at the end of every podcast. I think it's fitting. And it goes like this, quote, "Never forget that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. Therefore, remove yourself as far as possible from ignorance and seek as far as possible to be intelligent." Marcus Garvey. Can't say no more about that. That's what it is. That is what it is. All right, folks, before we get out of here, the Bible verse or quote of the week is coming from 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, and it reads, "Work hard so you can present yourself to God and receive his approval. Be a good worker, one who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly explains the word of truth."
There it is.
Pete, I was not thinking about that when we were talking about symbolism today. It's amazing. God is good, man. God is good. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Work hard so you can present yourself to God and receive his approval. Be a good worker, one who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly explains the word of truth. I ain't got nothing else after that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Our Voice 360, our perspectives, our ways. Take care. Oh, I got to, you know what, before we leave, I know it's been, I'm so sorry. I got to do this because I was looking at our ratings and everything. I want to give a shout out to the people who have been supporting us in these cities: Atlanta, Georgia; Wichita, Kansas; San Jose, California; Seattle, Washington. I even want to shout out, man, some people a place in the UK. It's called Cardiff, Cardiff. In the UK, they have been plugging into us, people out there, Pete. So I wanted to make sure we shout them out and just thank them for their support, whether they're listening to it or downloading it. Hey, we appreciate it. And like I said, if there's something you want to hear, y'all want to give us your feedback, let us know, man. Go ahead, Pete. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate all the viewers and the listeners for sure. Hey, we're just trying to grow this thing and get the truth out, and give our perspective from the Black point of view.
That's it.
And that's it. And that's it. And like I said, we appreciate all of our listeners and our viewers, and it is much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Take care, folks. Be blessed. We out.
Peace.
If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when a new show drops. Please rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to advertise or become a sponsor, please send an email to ourvoice360@gmail.com with your inquiry. We'll connect with you as soon as possible in hopes of creating a great partnership. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Our Voice 360. Our perspectives, our way, keeping you in the know while you're on the go. See you next week.